Hey guys, let's get more news from Dallas Cowboys, but first don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like. Frisco, Texas, finally, training camp is right in front of the Cowboys. No longer do we refer to camp as starting in late July, or next month, or even next week. Training camp kicks off in Oxnard here in a few days as the Cowboys depart for sunny California on Tuesday. The team doesn't hit the practice field until Thursday, but the pads won't come on for a few days after that. But make no mistake, training camp is finally among us. Here are a few of the quick headlines to monitor as the Cowboys take a big step closer to the start of the 2024 season. CD Watch. Sure, the Cowboys have other players who could get a new contract, with Dak Prescott being one of them. But the quarterback is expected to be with the team on Tuesday, as is linebacker Micah Parsons. But all eyes will be on receiver CeeDee Lamb, or will any eyes be on him? Lamb has skipped all of the voluntary OTA practices and the mandatory minicamp, which resulted in a fine. Obviously, Lamb is waiting for a new contract as he enters the 5th year of his contract. If he misses camp, he will be fined daily, just as Zach Martin did a year ago. New defense. The Cowboys lost Dan Quinn, who is now the head coach in Washington, but his defense wasn't perfect, especially in the playoff loss to the Packers. Can Mike Zimmer return to Dallas once again and provide not only a new look, but create a scheme that benefits Micah Parsons even more? Those are some of the questions that exist with this defense, which not only gets Trayvon Diggs back on the field, but add veteran linebacker Eric Kendricks, who knows Zimmer's scheme better than anyone. O-line battles. With all the pressure on Dak Prescott, who finished second in the MVP voting last year, this season could be even bigger for the veteran quarterback. But for him to be even better in 2024, he'll have to do so playing behind a new left tackle and center. And the Cowboys would prefer for both of those spots to go to rookies, as first-round pick Tyler Guyton will get every chance to win the left tackle spot and replace Tyron Smith. At center, third-round pick Cooper Beebe and Brock Hoffman are the top candidates to compete at center. Zeke's back. Not only is Ezekiel Elliott back on the roster again, but it appears as if he's the favorite to win the starting job at tailback now that Tony Pollard is gone. Zeke split time with Pollard in 2022, but he still managed to score 10 rushing touchdowns. Last year, he had a limited role with the Patriots, but he's back now in Dallas, wearing number 15. While Zeke is wearing a new number, he'll have to prove he can handle the starting role and stave off the competition of vets like Rico Dowdle, Royce Freeman and a host of other young backs, including Deuce Vaughn. Leap year, the Cowboys really only signed one key free agent in Kendricks. So this team is relying heavily not only on this year's draft class, but the last few as well. Part of the team's off-season strategy was to give several young players that opportunity they've been lacking. So takes advantage? Right now, look at players like Sam Williams, Jalen Tolbert, Motzie Smith, Wanya Thomas, Jalen Brooks, Nahshon Wright, Israel Mukuamu and Luke Schoonmaker, who are all young guys that should get plenty of chances to earn those much-needed reps. Those are just a handful of the storylines to watch as we get ready for the start of camp. You could make the case for about 10 others that will be intriguing for fans and media to keep an eye on. The Dallas Cowboys are reporting to training camp this week. We made it. Soon enough, the California sun will be shining down while your pet cat is justifying the belief that you bestowed upon them. It is the best. Experienced football fans are well aware of the optimism that this time of year offers. The canvas is blank, the slate is clean, and our hearts have mended from last year's breaking. Once action gets underway in Oxnard, it is full steam ahead and all systems go. But when everything starts up, it is still unknown whether or not a certain wide receiver is going to be there. CeeDee Lamb has yet to take part in any official Dallas Cowboys activity throughout the offseason, but not showing up to training camp is a different sort of statement. It feels more probable than not that CeeDee Lamb will hold out. It's honestly difficult to envision CD Lamb being a part of the charter to Oxnard when the Dallas Cowboys board it this week. We have yet to see Lamb in any official team capacity amid his contract negotiations with the team. If he was willing to miss voluntary stuff, OTAs, and all of the mandatory minicamp, why would he suddenly blink just because training camp is about to start? Beyond conventional logic applying here, there is also recent history telling Lamb to keep up what he has going on. The two more notable holdouts in Dallas Cowboys training camp history featured players who are currently both active in Ezekiel Elliott and Zach Martin. Zeke may be on his second go with the Cowboys but held out during his first in the lead-up to his fourth training camp. At the time, Elliott was eligible for a contract extension for the first time and leveraged that point. There was a fair bit of drama, shocker there, throughout the process, including Jerry Jones toying with the media saying Zeke who, at one point, which he later sold t-shirts to promote after the deal was done, but ultimately the running back won with the team blinking to the tune of a record-setting $90 million deal. That holdout was somewhat predictable, where Zach Martin's was a bit of a surprise. Last year saw the future Hall of Famer decline to show up to training camp initially as he was seeking a new deal. Martin didn't even miss all of camp and successfully negotiated an $8.5 million raise for himself in guaranteed money. Players are 2 for 2 in the last 5 years. So if you are CD Lamb and you know that you have not shown up to anything so far and that the last 2 players who put the team in a corner successfully came out on top, why on earth would you show up? All due respect to Elliott and Martin, Lamb has even more leverage than either did at their particular junctures. While Zeke was coming off of leading the league in rushing in 2019, his second rushing crown through his first 3 seasons, the ultimate reality was still that he was a running back. That point was proven by the team releasing him last year as a result of the deal. Martin will one day have a bust in Canton but was hardly in the prime of his career last year, even if he did turn in another world-class season. Unlike Elliott and Martin, Lamb is, in fact, in the prime of things. Shoot, he may not have even reached that yet. He plays one of the most important positions of the game on top of that, and he is coming off of literally the most statistically successful season that a wide receiver has ever had in team history. Based on all that, it is hard to believe that Lamb will report to training camp without a new deal, but what do you all think? The Dallas Cowboys finally report to training camp this week, July 24th, in Oxnard, California. All of the guesstimating and speculation we've been forced to endure throughout the offseason will finally come to an end. One way or another, answers will be provided via the goings-on throughout training camp and preseason. While the hope is everything goes as planned in training camp/preseason, there's always those what-if situations that will linger in the back of everyone's minds until the dust finally settles. Because of those what-ifs, we decided to take another look at free agency to identify a few players the Cowboys may want to have on standby just in case. With Tyron Smith's exit via free agency to join the New York Jets this offseason, the Cowboys are now forced to figure out how to replace their longtime blindside protector. They drafted Tyler Guyton in the first round, 29th overall, but there are concerns he may not be ready to step in immediately as a rookie. And, unless the Cowboys are willing to move Tyler Smith back to LT, the other options on the roster leave much to be desired. While injuries have hit him pretty hard the last few seasons, David Bakhtiari might be somebody the Cowboys want to have on standby if they don't like what they see from the LT options they currently have on the roster in training camp/preseason. When healthy, he's still one of the better blindside protectors in the league, and if nothing else, could potentially fill in until Tyler Guyton is better acclimated to life in the NFL. The Cowboys are expecting last year's first-round pick, Motzie Smith, to make a significant year 2 jump entering his sophomore season in the league, but even if he does, they can still use more depth at defensive tackle. Mike Zimmer prefers the bigger-bodied, space-eating DTs in the interior of defensive line, and right now the Cowboys don't have anyone currently on the roster who shows a lot of promise. The free agent options currently available on the open market are pretty slim pickings, but former Broncos DT Mike Purcell could be a solid addition in a rotational role as a depth piece. He spent the last 5 seasons with the Broncos and started 10 games for them last year. At 6 feet 3 inches, 338 pounds, he has the size Mike Zimmer likes at the position and could provide veteran experience like Jonathan Hankins did the last few years. If Trayvon Diggs can return to his former self after last year's season-ending knee injury with no lingering effects or setbacks, the Cowboys are in pretty good shape as far as their top 3 cornerbacks go. Considering how hard they've been hit with injuries at this position the past few years though, having more proven depth behind them on the depth chart might not be a bad direction to take. Stephon Gilmore may no longer be the player he once was, but his veteran savvy and starting experience probably saved the Cowboys' season last year after Trayvon Diggs' season-ending knee injury. Re-signing him would significantly upgrade Dallas' CB depth and provide an insurance policy just in case something were to go wrong. It would be better to have him on the roster and not need him than need him and not have him. As long as DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons are on the field and healthy, the Cowboys have one of the better pass-rushing duos in the league. Behind them on the depth chart, things are a bit murky with young/unproven players. If for whatever reason they struggle in their backup roles in training camp/preseason, Dallas may need to look for some more proven outside help. Carl Lawson would be an excellent depth piece in a rotational role behind D-Law and Micah Parsons. While he hasn't been quite the same dominant player he was earlier in his career after tearing his Achilles in 2021, and was a regularly healthy scratch with the Jets last season, he still has enough in the tank to help the Cowboys if they don't like what they see from their youngsters in training camp/preseason.